town. This is Alphaville. Much the same as other small towns, Alphaville is the sum of many lesser parts. But unlike every other town, Alphaville does not actually exist. Not in the traditional sense, anyway. A purely electronic creation of science, Alphaville is an informational representation of a town which is perpetually under siege. It exists only as data and in the minds of those who defend its critical information infrastructure, and those who could attack it. As you can see, the 4 locations that make up Alphaville are the library, the school, City Hall, and Alphaville Emergency Services. Are there other locations in Alphaville? Sure, I suppose so. Maybe a grocery store or a soda fountain. But do you really want to be the hacker that takes down the soda fountain? What are you going to do? Order 1,000 cases of Coca-Cola? I don't think so. Besides, then you'll have the Coca-Cola company to answer to. And those gentlemen don't mess around. While no longer commonly used in the civilized world, this switchboard is a useful visual metaphor for Alphaville. No information can flow between any 2 points. But with a connection, information can move from point A to point B. With enough leaps, information can be made to move between any 2 points on the board. So let's look at the information technology infrastructure of Alphaville. You might be asking yourself, why would anyone attack a small town library? The electronic card catalogs of today's libraries hardly represent a high-value target. While a miscreant could erase titles, or add erroneous ones, little seems to be gained by attacking those assets. Consider, however, that other information may be stored on the library's critical infrastructure. Full names, addresses, possibly phone numbers. Whether a city councilman's been checking out dirty books, like the story of O, or Catcher in the Rye. Once they've gained access to the system, it may be possible to exploit weaknesses in that system to gain access to other places in Alphaville. But surely the school poses no threat, you might say. What could be done here? Grades could be altered, certainly, but there's more to be had than an A in woodshop here. Once again, names, numbers, addresses, and now the names, ages, and birth dates of children. And again, through weaknesses in the school's domain name service system or other exploits, access to one system can be leveraged into access to another. At this point, a hostile user or team of users has access to Alphaville's municipal records, legal documents, and other sensitive information. They may even have access to Alphaville's emergency services, such as fire, police, or ambulance dispatches. Along the way, they may have gathered information from the library or school systems, which could allow them to guess passwords or socially engineer access to more and more critical systems. It's possible that some resource or document was the perpetrator's target all along. Whatever their motives, Alphaville has been hacked. But who, you may ask, would do such a thing? Who would attack Alphaville? Miscreant youths bent on causing chaos and havoc? Trashing your precious data for bragging rights to gain favor with females of their subculture? Professional thieves working for the highest bidder? Organized criminals looking to enrich themselves and forward their own illegal operations? Or perhaps shadowy operatives working under the auspices of some foreign government? Ultimately, Doesn't matter. The point is, your critical information infrastructure may be vulnerable, and you may not have the skills to keep it safe. So where do you obtain these skills? Where do you learn? Why, right here, of course, in Alphaville. Here, you will learn to defend an interconnected network of systems with real-world assets and real-world infrastructure against real-world threats. Alphaville, brought to you by the Michigan Cyber Range. Be prepared for the worst by learning to be the best.
So that's my movie. You know, one of the cool things about this job is that I get to make movies. So, you know, just think about that, getting paid for that.
Brought the color back. I like that.
You know. So just a little bit about the Michigan Cyber Range. The Michigan Cyber Range is actually a public-private partnership between the state of Michigan and Merit Network Incorporated. If anybody has gone to college in the state of Michigan, anybody here gone to any of the four-year colleges? Yep, you've used Merit Network. Okay, so we connect all the four-year colleges, 85% of the two-year colleges, and some 76% of the K through 12 ISDs. So we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We do all this to actually put the internet where other companies won't. The thing you got to realize about the Cyber Range is that it is a cloud-based service. We run 4,500 miles of fiber optic network cable throughout Michigan. We're Internet 2. We're connected to the research and education networks in Ohio, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Canada. So we have that kind of connectivity, and we leverage that to make the range accessible. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. So who am I? I'm Joe Adams, also known as Joe Adams. That was a joke, you know, everybody else has got a hacker handle and I don't, okay? So there's the Cyber Range, and who do they find? They find some Army guy to come and run it. So that's what I did. Retired exactly a year ago, so I still tell time in 24 hours, okay? Got all these things and loads of titles. The thing to learn, the takeaway for the Cyber Range is that it's about information. You go to a lot of places, you take your standard 5-day conference class, you're going to learn about hacking applications. You're going to learn about attacking services or this one server. We actually can put up a persistent training environment that reflects where the information is kept. And just like you saw in the movie, you can pop an easy target, pivot, and use the information that you've harvested from the library, for example, to break into other places. It is a virtual town, and it keeps growing. Right? So what we did is take the information systems you would find in a small municipality. There's a library, a police station, a town hall, a couple small businesses, and we networked them together to create a persistent training environment. Okay. Anybody in here been in the Army? All right, been to NTC? No, okay, well, there you go. All right, it's a sandy, dusty little crap hole in the middle of the Mojave Desert, but it's got a town. It's cinder block, it's plywood, and there's a big spray painted sign on the side that says school, right? But what it does is it gives you a sense of place. You're actually moving through a town. You're not moving through obstacles. We wanted to build the same kind of thing for hackers, for system admins, for defenders. I'm not just going to give you an IP range and say, go figure out what's there. You actually can do a who is, and you'll get, this is the public library. And here's the name of the system admin. You can actually go in and take a look at the services they're running, and they will be pretty much realistic. And we work on that as hard as we can to make it as realistic as possible. This is kind of what it looks like. This is old, so it has been added to. If anybody's familiar with vCloud Director, it's a vCenter. So I can give you a copy of Alphaville, and you a copy of Alphaville, and you a copy of Alphaville, and everybody can play in their own little sandbox, right? So that's how we do our training, and that's what we're looking for, is for people to come, run classes, run exercises, test procedures, test policies, and see how they work out. Why do we do it? Well, 85% of this nation's critical infrastructure is defended by you folks, not defended by my friends at Cybercom. The NSA can watch over your shoulder, but they are legally forbidden from doing anything to secure your network. Okay? So if anybody knows about a cute little law called Posse Comitatus, it prevents the federal government from coming in and doing things to DTE, to consumers, to Blue Cross Network, to the state of Michigan. Okay, there is that separation. Yeah, it's still here. The other thing you need to realize is that over the last 10 years, industrial control systems, SCADA, smart grid, have actually been bridged into the public internet. Way back when in the day, you actually had to go to a control room and there was a big steel door and you went through and you worked on the control system. Somebody figured it'd be a good idea if Schmedlap, who's working the control system, could check his email at the same time. So they bridged the two networks. So now there's a neat little search engine, by the way, called Shodan, where you can just go out and find these SCADA systems. They're accessible over the internet, not only because it allows me to cut my IT staff, because now I can administer it from a central IT place, but it also makes it easier. I don't have to buy two machines for Schmedlap. We want to do more than just show the usual enterprise systems, right? Because they're out there, all right? You got when I was the chief information officer for the National Defense University, I had two guys on my network team, and we called them Thing 1 and Thing 2. Guess how much training they got? Absolutely zero, because when Thing 1 left, Thing 2's pulling 24-hour shifts 7 days a week. He's not happy. There was a recruiter on before lunch that talked about burnout. Well, that's how it happens. Okay? So what we want to do with the range is be able to push training to Thing 1 and Thing 2. Because as the CIO, I can't send them to, a course for a week, but I can give them Thursday afternoons in the conference room to do an online class. So that's how I want to approach it to keep things going. Because on-the-job training is good, but it's only as good as the people who are giving you the on-the-job training. And so this is how bad habits perpetuate themselves and become corporate culture. I could tell you all kinds of stories about people applying patches on a Wednesday night, and it gets scary. All right? Here's where you get to the so what slide. Well, the attacks aren't going to stop. All right, just embrace it, wallow in it, love the chaos. You've got the fear-mongering that goes on in the Washington Post. You've got people that are fighting for budget and they want to hire all kinds of cyber warriors. But I think this is probably closer to the truth. I will tell you that the advanced persistent threat, cue chilling music, is there, but they don't want to just do a smash and grab. They don't want to break in, steal your stuff, and leave. They want to break in and move in with you. They want to watch what you do over a long period of time because that's, let's face it, breaking in, hacking takes time. And time is money. And I want a return on my investment. So once I've broken in, I'm going to stay. I'm going to know what you do. I'm going to know how you do it because if I can figure out how you do it, maybe I can figure out how your other branch offices do it, and I can keep on moving. Here's the attack distribution from 2012, just in case anybody's wondering who the real bad guys are. You've got your states, your nation states. You've got a little bit of the active computer network offense. Lots of hacktivism going on, but what we see is that hacktivists tend to have a cause. They show up, they get their headline, they go away. It's annoying, it outs people, it does what it's supposed to do, which is, get headlines, but it's these guys in the red, the cyber criminals who show up and want to stay in your backyard, live in your living room, see what's in your refrigerator. They're the ones that you have to really defend against, because they're the ones who are taking away the opportunities, stealing intellectual property, and actually doing a lot of economic damage. So who are you going to call? Nobody's getting my Ghostbusters. All right, so pause for a sec. How many people caught the Dr. Strangelove references in the movie? Okay, how many were there? How many Dr. Strange? 2. There you go. I knew an old guy would get it. So who are you going to call? That's right. A lot of times we look at the researchers. We look at geeks like me who work for a university, who sit in a cubicle and think deep thoughts. This is good, but they tend to build all kinds of really wild, overblown things, write papers that nobody reads and journals that nobody subscribes to. We need the threat is moving too fast. At the same time, if you go and create a cyber militia, who's going to police the militia? Okay, don't know if anybody here has been to one of those far-off sandy places where there is no strong central government and you get militias, but I can tell you that the space between a militia and a bandit group is pretty small, and it depends on what day of the week it is. So how do you fix this? All right, well, we're going to start with a range. Okay, like I said, it's an actual place. We've put a lot into making it with a sense of place. Our range is different because it is completely unclassified. Okay, it is one of the few in the country. It is the only cloud-based unclassified range. We have secure access. We also have routing protocols that keep what happens on the range in the range. Okay, so if you go and you're experimenting with routing and you happen to light off a broadcast storm, or you rip off, Metasploit and it just happens to go someplace unintended, it's okay. You hit reset. Just restart it. No harm done. Nobody's production network even sees it. In addition to the hardware and the infrastructure, we have built a complete education program to go along with the range. All right? In the Army, they teach us to crawl, walk, and run. So what we want to do first is we want to teach you the individual skills that you need to be able to contribute to a team. Okay? Everybody talks about the lone hacker sitting in his basement, crap. Bullshit. It doesn't work like that. I'm telling you that an IT staff, and in fact a computer network offensive squad, is a team. Nobody's expert in everything, and everybody's got to communicate with the other guys so that you can maximize benefit. All right? I'm a colonel. I'm telling you, I do this for a living, and I don't do it onesie-twosie. All right? So we want to teach you the individual skills. Then we want to teach you how to work as a small group. Perfect example, web application security. I give you a LAMP stack. You've got the firewall guy. You've got the Apache guy who's taking care of the server. And then you've got the SQL nerd who's back there making the website go tick-tock. But they've got to talk together. They've got to realize that the vulnerability or the configuration that is put in Apache ripples through and might make the SQL database vulnerable. You've got to realize that not doing data validation on some web front end, some web page, could actually expose a vulnerability the other way as well. So we want to get you to work together. Because where we want to go is we want to go to the force on force, red on blue, full speed exercises. That's where we see the most benefit. When I taught at West Point, the NSA would come every year and would host the Inter-Service Academy Cyber Defense Exercise. And we loved it. You know, we won 3 years in a row. Okay, but we did so because we got organized, we practiced hard, we actually did a lot of prep. So if you were my SQL guy, day one, you dumped that whole database. You wrote a script that said if this is supposed to be an 8-character name, it's 8 characters and no more. So we got rid of all the Easter eggs. We did data validation on all the web pages. We looked through the mail stores. We did all that. We got prepped. Because that's the way you've got to approach this. You're going to be under attack. You're going to take that attack, and unplugging from the internet and saying, wait a minute while I figure this out, is not the answer. You can't do that. So we want to teach you at full speed where the vulnerabilities are, where the interconnections are, and how to respond to that. Because one of these guys is going to die. And you just want to make sure it's not you. Okay? We want to provide a safe environment. We want to teach you how to work like a team. And because of the way we've fixed the infrastructure, it is easy for you to do it again. We're going to evaluate you. Yep, you need to work on this. Hit reset, make you do it again. Because we're going to put you through an objective-based exercise. Okay? Capture the flags are a lot of fun because they have a focus. Right? But in a lot of cases, these red on blue capture the flags turn into paintball. Okay? Paintball's a lot of fun. It's a good cardio, Saturday afternoon, shoot the guy you don't like from work. Crap for training. Okay? What I want to do is I want to give you an objective that says provide secure e-commerce ordering on this site. And then I'm going to create exercise injects that test that objective. I'm going to come at you with a certain set of attacks and see how you respond. And that's how we're going to give you that kind of feedback. Adaptive assessment is important. And then we give you the feedback. How can you do this? How can you see this? Well, through what we call secure Sandbox. So when an instructor wants to teach this, we can actually be an extension of his classroom. You want to do this for work, we can actually be the place where you can put all your targets. We can load it, help you load it with all the bad tools. We can make it all real and available for you. You control access, so you actually decide who gets credentials to log in. And then you can, like I said, either bring your own environment, or we can give you pieces of Alphaville, labs from our classes, and you can give that a try. The other things that we've got, we are developing a couple products. Personal lab space is where an individual can come, just give me a credit card and get a 90-day lease on a Sandbox and either practice for one of the exams that we give or actually just do their own thing. Really good if you're a starving graduate student who doesn't have a whole lot of money to spend on standing up infrastructure. We can help you with that. We're also building classes that are on demand. I've mentioned classes a couple times, but if you go to the CyberRange website, you'll see we offer about 14 different certificates in resident and online. We also do what we call remote in resident. So if you want us to come to your location and teach, we will do that. We're turning that into an on-demand kind of thing. Inside Alphaville, our goal this summer is to build a SCADA environment that goes along with the town. So we're going to have Alphaville Power and Electric. Idea came up this week, hey, can we add a nuclear power plant? Sure, let's do it. Of course, we'll have a donut shop somewhere in town too, just because I've got a weird sense of humor like that. So if you've got questions, before we do this, let me show you real quick what what the range looks like. And for some of you, you're going to go, "Oh, this is it." But I think it'll be good. There's no sound here, so don't worry. But for those of you who are used to vCloud, this is it. You log into the virtual data center. It then gives you your library. You choose your target, or actually open up your user interface. In this case, log in. Can you guys read that in the back? Meh. Okay. Nathan gets to fix this Monday morning. But the idea is, you are now completely in a virtual environment. So no matter what you do, it's not coming back. It's not going to live on your PC. It's not going to live in your office production network. You can go through, you figure out where you are. Do a scan to see what's around you. I got to work on the timing of this. But what we're doing here is we're actually walking through the classic 5 steps of a hack. Okay? You just did recon. So what comes next? Anybody here? CEH? Come on. Enumerate. So we're going to, if this doesn't hurry up. All right, here we go. You get to the public library. We take a look around. Banner grab. Okay, what kind of information can I find here? And this is also really interesting because you can actually start discerning some of the rules they might use for naming. We take a look, we play around a little bit with the database. And this is something we try to teach, is you can actually change these error messages, so don't leave them alone. So we've actually looked it up. Now it's fun time's over. Now let's get down to business. So as we start up Burp Suite, the important thing to know is it's not about tools. Knowing how to use a tool is cool, but if you don't know what that tool's supposed to do, well, then all you've got is a hammer, and the world looks like a nail. So what we want to do is we're going to give you all the tools, and you just have to know which one do you use for this job. So we set up Burp Suite. Going to put ourselves in the middle so that we're capturing the traffic. And then we're going to go in and actually run the site again. Why would we do that? Anybody? I've stunned you to silence. It's awesome. Okay, so what we're doing is we're actually forcing the site to work so that we can capture the traffic so that we can see how it works. Okay. So you saw our get, you saw our post. And so now I can actually go into Burp Suite and recreate the SQL query that pulled that information out of the database. All right, I need to speed this up. There you go. So we use another tool to carve that data out. This is a problem with putting together screen capture movies. Okay. So SQL map just goes ahead and tells me, here are your vulnerabilities, color codes them because I'm lazy and I just want it quick. It also does the banner grabbing, so it tells me all about what I can use and where I can use it. Let's speed this up again. Okay, here we go. We go back in, we run the query again, we've dumped the table, then we're going to carve out the data. Because that's what it looks like and it's ugly. And here's where we talked about, can you script? I've interviewed a lot of people and they don't have the slightest clue about a command line. Okay, so if hacking to you is using a GUI, you might want to come and take a class and learn how to use a command line, right? Because it's more about what you know than how many buttons can you push. So here you can see we've carved out information. Oh, that was the credit card information. Here's the user IDs and passwords. Now, how realistic is this? Well, this public library is actually modeled on the Ann Arbor District Library, so I didn't have to go too far for inspiration. And this isn't unusual. We did a pen test of a certain place where I used to live and found that the local self-help garage, you've seen these places, you go in and you rent the tools and you basically, your key was your social security number and they stored your credit card information right there just to help you out. So had it all right there, Joe the mechanic punching it in, really kind of bad. But these are the kinds of things that PCI was supposed to fix, but you'd be surprised how many times they keep popping up. So that, real quick, was my my example of what does it look like to be on the range. So now I have no idea how much time I have. Plenty of time because I just ripped right through that. So me and my buddy were ready for your questions.
What do you guys do for, two-part question, what do you do for traffic generations, part one? And part two is, do you have any kind of simulated users to simulate kind of phishing attacks and somebody clicking a link and things like that?
We're implementing a software-based traffic generator right now called, I think it's Ostinto. But it's just there to make white noise, okay? And that's just because my experience with CDXs, it's really easy to spot the red team because the only traffic moving around is either mine or somebody else's. And so we want to do that. What we have not figured out how to do is really the connection-oriented. I send you, you reply. So we're still.
Have a gray cell for cyber range.
Yeah.
You plan to have one.
We will have one eventually. Right now, we're going to run our first red on blue exercise on the 24th of July out at Grand Valley State. So we're very much building ourselves into this. Somebody had a question back in the back. Yes?
Do you have pricing matrix set up for municipalities as well as individuals? I know you said something about personal credit cards and the others.
Right. Yes. So if you just email cyberrange, all one word, at merit.edu, we can get you hooked up with that. Many of the municipalities in the state of Michigan are actually Merit members, and so we can help you out. Anybody else?
In my experience, there is a lot of focus on offensive types of things, and you did mention defensive. Can you talk about that at all?
Well, there's a couple ways to run a cyber exercise. The first, like what we're going to do at the end of July, is we've got a county consortium that is going to be the defender, and then my guys are going to be the attackers. Okay? Or if your group is big enough, you could play both sides. My experience has mostly been on the defense side, so my team has been the defenders. It depends, I guess, a lot on what your objectives are. I think that it's probably more useful for a state, local education kind of marketplace to learn the defense. We can talk over your fermented beverage of choice at length over the wisdom of hackback, but I honestly think that if you're the exchange administrator or you're the firewall administrator for, Houghton Lake Public Library, you need to worry about defense. Don't.
I think that is really, there's not a lot of people out there,
Right.
in my opinion, and it's a very valuable skill to have.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's a valuable skill to have, and as just about every speaker at this conference is going to tell you, the prevalence of botnets, the prevalence of owned computers. If I hack back, am I getting at the Russian business network, or am I taking Mrs. Gonzalez off the internet for extended period of time? And thereby making myself legally liable. So yeah, defense is definitely our strong focus, because I think that's what our market needs to know.
Your target user, target audience, is it limited, or is there a structure for organizations outside of Michigan?
No, in fact, we'll teach anybody, we'll host anybody. Although within the state of Michigan, we talk a lot to the higher ed. We have branched out. Consumers and DTE are platinum sponsors of the Cyber Range, so we work closely with that industry. But we're very willing and able to work with anybody. Like I said, if you can connect to the network, we can figure it out. And right now we've had some interest from other states. So some other states, and we're going to work with them and their education network and build that bridge to them so that they can run this training as well. Anybody else? I guess I talked real fast.
I actually have a question. I don't mean it to sound controversial, so let me preface it a little bit. You're addressing a BSides group that's out on volunteer effort, admissions free, volunteer labor, and the sponsors. So you have people here from a very diverse audience, students and teachers, experts, novices, and it's very diverse. If someone in this audience wanted to attend the Cyber Range, what kind of cost structure?
Okay.
It seems like you're member-based and kind of pricey.
Oh, well, actually, we're not pricey.
Okay.
How many of you guys have ever been to a SANS course? Okay, we are half the price of Sands, literally. Okay, so I'll take that one on, right by the horns.
You're still expensive then.
You know, Mama Adams likes me to put food on the table. No, we're half the price of Sands, and for member organizations, it's even less than that. So we are more affordable than our competitors. One of the things we also like to do is offer our infrastructure at a very low margin so that student researchers, community college instructors, depending on the school they go to, you know, you're pulling this stuff out of your own grants and your own money. So we're trying to help that go farther. So
I'd be willing to bet if you sampled the attendees or just the people in the room, there'd be a lot of people who'd be interested in participating in these programs, but it'd be prohibitively expensive because their employer isn't a member or...
well, no, I don't. We are to take our class. You don't have to be a member. I mean, you can come from anywhere and take the class, and the non-member price is half of what they're already paying to send you to someplace else. If they're a member, so you pick your 4-year college, pick your 2-year college that you work for, your municipality, you know, I don't know, you work for the city of Detroit, okay, good, come on. That's a 40% cut off of that, discount off of that. So I think our pricing is more than very competitive. And I think that even for folks, because there are a lot of folks, I was surprised. There are a lot of folks looking for a job that'll go out and lay down the money to get a certificate to make themselves competitive for that next job. And for the people that are looking for that kind of edge, I think we're affordable. You know.
So I do spend money, and I like spending money sometimes. What's the personal sandbox option? What are you guys looking at for the range?
So the personal lab space is not yet available, so please don't beat me up, all right? We're still working that out. But what that does is that gives you a small virtual data center. I call it small because it's actually resource capped. We start it, you know, at a modest level. We do that so that, you know, you don't show up with your rainbow tables and start cracking passwords and chewing up, you know, lots of resources. But what that does is that gives you 90 days with your own personal space. You can either build your own VMs and put them in there to replicate whatever you're trying to accomplish, or you can take a look at some of the targets that we have, and we make those available as well. So, because as we're building out Alphaville, you know, every one of those, you know, information systems is a collection of VMs, a collection of services and servers and applications. So that's what it's going to look like.
Do you have like a rough order of magnitude, like kind of a cost estimate of what you think of charging?
No.
Not yet. Okay.
No. So, anybody else? Well, I guess I'll cut you loose early then. I'll be around for a while. So please, if you do have questions, just come up and find me. But thanks.